Hey guys, what are you up to? My name is LawyerUp, and today I will be flying out the Bf 109 G2 and Bf 109 G2 Tropical from Messerschmitt. But before I continue with the rest of this video, I'd like to draw your attention to the survey that Gaijin has put out for the new power update. And specifically, there's a question where they ask whether you have any suggestions. And for ARB, I would like to specifically mention 3 of them. The first one being that they cut back on the time that a match can last at the most. It is 25 minutes now, where it used to be 60 minutes, which really robs us from that opportunity to fight against this one guy who really knows his aircraft well, or maybe turn the tables if you're in a tight spot and you're on your own left against many enemies. Those epic moments will likely not happen in 25-minute meta, but they would happen in a 60-minute meta, so it'd be really great if that would return. Also, the matchmaker is kind of wonky. You end up fighting a lot of USA and Japan versus the rest teams. I would really love to see the old Allied versus Axis matchmaker back. And there's also one other thing that you might have already spotted, which is the frame stutters that you experience when you fly through a smoke trail of an enemy. It could be fuel or engine oil. Anytime that happens, the frames start to stutter to the point where aiming and flying is nigh impossible, which really ruins the gameplay. On to the rest of the video. The Bf 109 G2 is a really strong aircraft, has a good engine, and you can climb very fast with it. You'll often be one of the highest players up there. So this first guy, I actually dove to get to his altitude because I really need the speed versus this Zero. I actually tried to do a rope-a-dope on him, where I use my superior engine at this altitude to hopefully stall him out, which actually works. He makes a flat turn, being even slower. I was already outrunning him, and now I try to drop back right on top of him. Unfortunately, I really mess up the hammerhead maneuver, and I just end up flapping around in a really weird way. But you get the idea. The engine of this aircraft is strong enough to both keep me out of his guns and keep going up for a longer time than it took for him to stall out. Another thing that I really like about this aircraft is the MG151. It's still a very reliable cannon. It used to be even more reliable, to the point where it's just kind of a meme, where you could just kill an enemy by 2 mine shell shots to the aircraft. Doesn't really matter where, and it would just explode into tiny bits. It's still very reliable. As you see, I only need 1 solid hit to put him on fire, but well, unfortunately he puts it out and he ends up living for the rest of the match, really. This match is one of those matches that ran out. So here's another match. I'm flying with 2 friends from my squadron, and well, we've kind of only have 1 Mosquito at altitude, but I like my chances versus only 1 big aircraft, and we can just get in on the fighters, like the small single engine fighters. It's always important to look behind you. So here I do a little bait and switch, where I try to take care of his P-47 and he tries to take care of my Bf 109, which doesn't really work. It's kind of fun. This stuff can only happen in War Thunder, right? An American Bf 109 versus a German P-47. What a meme. I love this game. This is why we play RRB, right? this aircraft has actually surprising good turning capabilities, but versus the other Bf-109, that's an F4, I really need to use my engine performance because I cannot hope to outturn him. I've seen many people in videos saying that the G2 is not good at turning, and in my opinion, it is quite decent at turning. I mean, it's not a Spitfire, definitely not a Zero, but just lay off the web sometimes when you turn, and it will actually perform decently in the turning department. So here I actually do not mess up my hammerhead as bad as I did in the other clip. Here you see one of the downside of this aircraft and really all the 109s is that the flaps, when you use them, they open like at a normal speed, but they close very slowly, which sometimes leads to you getting the message that you should retract the flaps when you're already retracting them, pressing the button again and just ripping immediately. So that's something to keep in mind. It even happens to me while I've flown Bf-109s quite a lot. So yeah, that's definitely a thing to really keep in mind. But if you use the throttle control and the flaps properly, you can actually surprise many other drawbacks of this aircraft are the top speed, which is, well, it can actually go quite fast, but after 600-ish kph, you'll really lose maneuverability, and above 720 to 790, you will have severe compression issues, and ripping there right at the end at 790, 800-ish will definitely be the red zone where you can rip and die. Well, here you see a situation where I'm not really good. The P-47 D-28 is actually going to a maneuver fight with me, which I like because I could win there. But then there's this P-61 that really sticks to boom and zooming. So one of them is keeping me busy. I mean, I can't ignore 850 cals, but on the other hand, I can't ignore 4 A&M 220 millimeters. So, well, I didn't divide my attention properly, and unfortunately that led to my demise. Because you're pretty decent at turning but not the best turner, it's always best to have some friends around. Now, in this case, all my friends already dropped at the beginning of the game, so I kind of needed to attack, and just when I was about to join in, hovering above the purple, I actually spot 2 enemies out of nothing. There's the Kai-61, and then there's a P-38 on my 6. You can just see him there. Need to keep attention on that because one hit of that 20 mil is enough to really mess me up good. But on the other hand, I can show you with this clip that I needed to take a risk here because, well, they're the only 2 enemies up and there's no friendly close. So usually I advise against taking head-ons, and you can see by the that shot could have easily hit my engine, so that was a risk that could have ended really badly. But hey, sometimes you need to do these things. And here I use the the throttle control and to a minor extent also flaps to make the Kai-61 overshoot. I really need him gone so that we could start paying attention to the P-38. I hear some other friendlies coming in, so I'm just kind of taking the gamble that my 6 is being kept somewhat clear, but the engine damage that I took is catching up with me. So I really need to stay in this fight. As you could also see in the short video I posted recently, sometimes you need to get in the fight when your stuff isn't good, because it will only get worse. And if you wait, you'll be even more certain of doom. Here you see another point of why I really like flying the 109s in War Thunder, because here I'm not producing any horsepower whatsoever. I'm almost falling out of the sky, but I can streamline my aircraft with all the radiators closed and the prop pitch to 0, and I can glide like a long way. I don't think I could have made it back to base here, but I get a bit lucky here. All the enemies get shot down, which means that the timer runs out before my aircraft hits the ground, which also keeps me from dying. Which is kind of the point of using those tricks. You could also use the prop pitch air brake, let's say, when you're going fast, but not too fast, because then you'll burn up your engine immediately. If you go, let's say, 400, 500-ish, and you put the prop pitch to 100 and you cut the engine throttle to 0, you can actually use it as a brake, which can be handy if you need to lose speed to perform a landing, or when you just want someone to overshoot. It can be very advisable to use that trick for a short time, as to not lose all your speed, but brake enough so that you're really certain that the other guy will overshoot. Now this P-37 actually deserves some props. He plays his aircraft really well. He's extending the whole time, which he ends up doing mistakenly. And it leads to this interesting fight with a Hellcat and a P-47 that work together pretty well. And I can profit from a small mistake that they end up making. I really need to engage the ones that come to me, because if I will run after them, their faster aircraft will just drain all my energy. So I am kind of hoping that by engaging them, they will make a mistake. Of course, I try to stay out of their guns. So for instance, here I entered to a rolling scissor, take some snapshots, get a hit, but it doesn't really do a lot. Now here you see the strength of the engine. It just keeps pulling me up even though I'm not going very fast. Whereas he is already pointing down. Now I need to roll out of the guns of that D28, and as you've heard, because I was actually behind the Hellcat, the D28 that tried to do a head-on me actually hit his friendly. And, well, he will extend again after this loop. And then I spot a little something that makes his opportunities a lot less than what they look like. Because he is not observing and orienting in the proper direction. He is extending, yes. He has the stronger engine, he can outrun me, but he is outrunning me towards my airfield. So what do? I kind of go slightly to the left as to cut him off. If he wants to turn left, he will meet me. If he goes to an Immelmann, I will get into well, I think the engagement that we get in, and if he would go to the right, then he would go right into my AA fire. And it wouldn't even be my doing. It would have been poor planning. So here I try to use throttle to make him overshoot. I get an extra power when I need the extra lift. I really need to use everything here, which is a good show in that respect. And then he ends up flying into my AA, and well, I get a nice crit in on his tail, which leads to more smoke. And then I end up straight behind him for a good shot, and then this happens. Daddy, where did my frame rate go? I mean, getting smoke in the face and not seeing anything because it all turns oily, that's one thing, but losing all the frames because, well, I fly through smoke kind of ruined the shot there. And now I botch everything and AA steals my kill. Which, well, luckily I can laugh about it. Here I am not in a very good position. I am at low altitude and I've got a Yak 3P behind me. Now he's got the extra skin that you unlock after quite a couple of kills, I believe. So I know this guy can play this aircraft right, and he really holds all the cards. The only thing that I have is that I have absolutely no fuel, so I'm very light, and I have combat flaps. And I also can profit from a little mistake of his, which is that he pulled up so that I could point my guns at him, which leads to the current situation where we both have to kind of react to each other. Whereas if he would have went straight over me, I would have had to react to his every step, and he could just accelerate away. Now he cannot. And well, again, just at the other fight, there was kind of a butt clencher for me. I really had cold fingers here. I needed to concentrate on every little move and maneuver, and especially also the predicament that I'm in. I have very little fuel, so I need to finish this at some point, because otherwise I just end up well, falling out of the sky basically. So this really is in this dogfight. I don't know how to underline it, but if you would pay attention to the flaps on throttle use, you would see that I really try to use whatever I can to turn into him, and it ends up being rewarded. Great fight. And here I don't zoom in. Apparently the frame stutters aren't as bad when you zoom in, and they end up winning. And again, just as with the other game, I put out every little last bit of fuel that I have, and now I can glide back to base. I think I might have even made it, considering how high I was, but well, luckily the game ended before I had to test that hypothesis. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do leave a comment below, and don't forget to fill out the survey, and see you in the next one.